Are you not saying anything, Simon?
I'm not saying anything at all because I still can't see me. I can only see a picture of a fox with a pretty nose and sparkly eyes. So I'm not seeing. Oh, I am now. Here we are. I go live when I see my face, but then it scares me when I see my face, and I don't know what to do next. Guys, welcome. It's a cold, miserable November day. Getting a bit near Christmas now, so we should be getting festive. But TheWildlifeAid goes on and on and on, and we keep functioning. We keep going on from day to day, and we're not getting that much quieter. So we're here as we are every day, and we're going to talk about a few patients, and we've got a few notes to talk about. But please bring us your questions today. We want interesting questions that we've never had before. So dig deep, guys, and think very deeply about questions you might like to ask. And if anybody says, what was your favourite rescue, I might hide under the desk for 5 minutes in silence. So let's launch off. Lawrie, what's been going on?
We've had quite a lot happening actually over the past couple of weeks, both in terms of rescues and in terms of patients. So this time of year our focus shifts away from sort of the foxes and the badgers that tend to be within our orphan season and moves on to our winter animals, which is mostly birds, mostly pigeons and wood pigeons, and of course hedgehogs. So our hedgehogs will have their next brood at this point. We have capacity to overwinter about 400 of them. We've luckily never hit that. But we do get quite close at times, and we have an awful lot in. So, do you want to go through the patients, or do you want me to?
I will start off. No, I'm going to talk about the first. So the first one we had was a mangy hoglet. So poor hedgehog with mange. Not a very nice thing to forget. That actually, I can't see the picture because it's the other side of my screen, which is why I peered over the top of my camera. If it's not too bad, they can get better from it, but they had to be caught quite quickly. They are very treatable. Mange is of course the same as scabies, which humans get, so we always wear gloves when we deal with them, and they're pretty cute things. So that one hopefully is on its road to recovery, Lawrie, or it's on its trip to recovery.
Yes, it is at the moment. A lot of the hedgehogs that we're getting have something called ringworm. Mange in hedgehogs it's not rare, but it's certainly not anywhere near as common as we see it in foxes or anything like that. But yeah, they can get mange, and it is just as infectious as it is in foxes, so we do have to be careful with that one. But it's currently in our quarantine facility and is doing quite well.
Yeah, I've had mange. I first got mange many years ago. I get ringworm quite a lot, and they say once you've had ringworm, you never actually totally get rid of it. I got it in my farming days when a lot of the cattle had ringworm. And I went in one night and said, "What's that?" And he went, "Yeah, you got ringworm." So yes, we get that. We get everything here. We are infected with everything.
It's meant to come back up in times of stress, ringworm.
It's a wonder I haven't got it all the time then, really. And working with you, it's a wonder I'm not riddled in ringworm.
Yes, I'm the most stressful person alive to work with.
I'm not talking.
If you thought differently.
I'm not talking to Lawrie much tonight, and you'll find out why later on. That will come. That will come forth later. So what else we had?
It's got a good reason.
I have got a very good reason.
We've got an update on our young rabbits as well. So for those of you who follow us over on our other social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, anything like that, you'll know that we had a number of really young rabbit kits, still eyes closed, that arrived at the centre a couple of months ago now, actually. All various stories, but we can safely say they're doing really, really well now. Thank you to the amazing work of our rabbit carers. They're doing really well, and as far as I'm aware, they are approaching the time when they're actually going for release, which will be wonderful to see them back in the wild.
Bunny rabbits. I like bunny rabbits.
Everyone likes baby
cute.
bunnies.
Until you pick them up and they kick you with their back feet, they can really hurt when you pick them up and try to rescue them. And no, biting, I'm not sure, it's the feet when they claw you. It really, really hurts. But they're quite cute. It's not as bad as being bitten by Lawrie, but there we are. And we had a fox, didn't we? We had a fox the other night. This is a weird story. Can I tell the story?
Yes, go for it.
Thank you very much. Lawrie does let me speak sometimes. So we got a call. In fact, we had a few missed calls because we were out on a rescue. And in the end, luckily, Alice answered it. She came back online. And we'd had a fox. Somebody found a fox. They found it up in Streatham Hill, so it's quite a long way away. They rang all sorts of people. Nobody would take it. So instead of ringing us and waiting for an answer, they just put it in the car and brought it down here. Now that's a huge dangerous thing, guys. So they put the fox in the car, they brought it down to us, they jumped over the gate, so we're all alarmed here, we've got alarms everywhere, so they jumped over the gate and left it outside reception. Now you think that's probably not too bad, But what they didn't tell us is that it wasn't in a box. They just dumped it outside reception. It was a bit shaky when they left. But by the time Lawrie got up there, when he heard about it, this thing was wandering.
4 in the morning.
Yeah, 4 in the morning. He was wandering around, wondering why he was there. So, you know, please, if you do have an animal that time of night, wait for an answer from us. No good just leaving a message. We've got to answer the phone because we don't know what's going on. It was only the alarms that sort of triggered us to the situation. So all the alarms went off, which again is not very helpful because the police probably get here half the time quicker than we get out there. So yeah, it's fine. It's doing all right as far as I know, isn't it, Lawrie?
Yes, yeah. It's currently in, ironically, it's in one of our deer sheds. They're called deer sheds, but we never have any deer in them.
We do
They're
occasionally,
sort of the
but very
sheds that
rarely.
we have as sort of triage sheds. It's in DS1 at the moment. It's doing really, really well. It was quite flat at first, was on a drip for a while, but has perked up really, really well, is improving by the day, is now quite feisty, quite growly and bitey, which is always a good sign in a wild fox, and hopefully it shouldn't be too long before it can return back to the wild. So fingers crossed with that one.
Absolutely, there's a lesson there. Please don't bring things in unless we know about it, because you know we do sometimes get animals just left at the gate in boxes, and lucky the first person in the morning finds it. But as we go into the winter months when it's very cold, that can be very dangerous. And in fact, the other night, Lawrie and I went out. We had a call. A woman rang. She said, "I've got a deer on my lap in the car." So I immediately go into my aggressive mode with the reception, saying, "For heaven's sake, tell them to stop the car. Put the deer back on the roadside or on the verge, and we'll come to you." She said, I'm in the middle of a motorway, we're driving along, we'll be with you shortly. Now, any deer however collapsed it is, or any animal however collapsed it is, if it suddenly comes to and you're in the middle of a motorway and this deer kicks out and goes on a rampage around the car, it's going to cause not only you a massive accident, but probably a load of other road users. We always say with any big animal like that, if you see it, park nearby, put your hazards on, don't cover it up, don't cuddle it, don't do anything, leave it there, we'll come to you, because they are very dangerous. This was actually a little muntjac, which look very cute, they are very cute, but they're really, really very difficult to hold. They're like trying to hold a buttered pig, as they do, I think they do in America, something where they butter a pig and try to catch it. They're very slippery trees. They also have a very large tusk in the mouth that points backwards, and if it just sort of thrashes around and gets you, I actually knew a woman who ran a wildlife centre probably about 30 years ago now. She picked up a muntjac. She's handled these deer before, but it just twisted its head round and it ripped her arm from sort of her elbow right down to her wrist. She couldn't use half the fingers in her hand ever again. So that's the sort of danger they can do. Don't ever pick up one of those animals. I did try to tell these people, and I really feel like screaming at them, not because I'm cross with them, but I'm worried for their own safety. So you know, please take a lesson from this. Don't just dump things off for a start, and don't bring deer or an injured badger back on your lap in the car, because if it suddenly comes to, they can create absolute havoc and cause damage. We once had a deer that was lying on the back seat of a car next to a child in a child's seat, and I still think about that now. It still worries me to death, because that deer had suddenly woken up. I hate to think what the result could have been. So guys, give us a call, make sure we answer the call.
Yeah. We've actually been out on several rescues where we've been even dealing with roe deer, which are one of the smaller deer species we get in the UK, and whilst handling that, one stray kick of the leg and it completely opened up the back of Simon's
only my shirt,
from the knee right
not
the way
my body,
down.
thank heavens.
No,
not my
it
body,
was
just
the
my
knee
jeans.
right the way down, just tore it open, just one kick, and if
But
that had been a leg, it would very easily have done the same. So please, at that point. And in terms of calls, as Sam said, we are open 24/7. We're available whenever needed. But after normal working hours, when our main reception closes, everything diverts to mobile numbers. So we might be out on a rescue, we might not be able to answer a call straight away. So if you do call us, please leave us a message. And even if we're out on a call, we can check that message, we can see how urgent that is. We might be able to call you from scene and advise there, or we might wait until we come back off the call that we're currently on to get back to you, but we will get back. So please, if you do call us on a night call, please make sure you leave a message, and we'll get back to you as soon as we possibly can.
Absolutely. So you know, we are here, as Lawrie says, we do go out on rescues, and if we're out on a rescue we can't always answer the phone, and you know, you've just got to wait. Be patient, guys. So don't just bring something in that we don't know about, because that could be fatal for you and for everybody else as well. Patient wise, what have you had in, Lawrie? Much or not?
Yeah, we've had quite a few more than that actually. So in terms of patients that have already been through the system, that have arrived fairly recently, but have been through the system, and luckily have actually gone out the other side and are going back to the wild. We had, let me just check through here. We had a young herring gull. So this is the one that people typically call seagulls. Technically no such thing as a seagull. The most common one you see are herring gulls. If you see a smaller one, it's likely to be a black-headed gull, even if it doesn't have a black head, because they don't have a black head in the winter. But this one came in with botulism, which is something we see quite often actually in gulls. It's a really bad form of food poisoning, and it's caused by the botulinum toxin, which is very strangely the same thing that people inject into their face to paralyze the muscles when they get Botox treatment. It can very easily be fatal, but luckily if it's caught early enough, we put it in our quarantine facility, it's on a course of treatment, recovered really well, and that one is now back in the wild. The second one is actually a rather pretty pigeon. This is a feral pigeon. They come in all shapes, sizes and colours. This one was rescued by one of our long-term supporters after she was concerned it had pox. So pox is a disease caused by the avian pox virus. It results in quite a lot of warty growths around the beak, face, the wings, the legs. That, again, if it's not treated, can be fatal. You can get growths in the mouth as well, make it very difficult to both breathe and eat. Luckily that wasn't the case. We did microscopic analysis and that wasn't the case. It was just an ulcerated wound. That went through the treatment process, recovered perfectly well, and that is also returned to the wild at that point. We had a young swan in as well. I'm not 100% sure of the story about the swan. You know that one a bit better than I do, Simon.
This one, the one we're looking at, is that the one that's in there now?
No, that's the one that's been transferred now.
Okay, so we get young swans in this time of year. They struggle. They might get kicked out by their parents too early. They might sort of go into an area where there's other swans and get beaten up. So I don't know the story of this one. I don't remember the story of this one. I'm not sure it didn't come from the RSPCA actually. I'm not sure. But yeah, we can get them well on quite quickly, provided they're not too weak. And we had one which actually went to another centre today, because cygnets at this age, they're quite social animals. And if you have a cygnet in for too long, this one we had in the other day actually, about 3 or 4 days ago, was really dehydrated. He was just 5.5 kilos, really thin. So we had him on a drip. Maru gave him lots of treatments, and he was massive worm infestations everywhere, so we dealt with that as well. But as soon as he was strong enough, and in fact today we transferred him to the swan sanctuary, where they've got lots of swans, you can have lots of mates, and it encourages them to sort of eat, because they tend not to eat if they're alone. So he will be with lots of friends now, so he will be having a party, and it frees us up an area for the next patient that comes in next time. So lots of those this time of year. Keep an eye open. I mean, it was this time last year, Lawrie, we were still getting in ducklings, weren't we? You know, newborn ducklings.
Yes, we were.
And that can happen into December as well. So don't just think all the breeding season's over for everybody. You know, if you do see really tiny ducklings, it isn't because you've drunk too much and you're seeing things. It's because they're probably still having ducklings this time of year.
Yeah.
I mean, our season is changing. Winters are changing. They're not as cold as they were. We don't get the winter which we used to know. So things keep breeding. This is why, you know, young hedgehogs could still be coming into us. To be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if we had hedgehogs in babies towards Christmas Day. Not the most sensible time to have a baby, because they can't find the food and that they wouldn't survive the winter. But just keep an eye open. There's never now, I don't think, in these new times, there's not going to be a time of any time of year when you might not find some babies around. So if you're worried, give us a call. If you need to bring it in, just give us a call, warn us first, so we can advise what's the best to do, whether to bring it in or to leave it where it is. Always there. We have a helpline that is there to help you, really. And if we can not have a patient in, it's not because we're being lazy and don't want to bother with it, but if we can leave a patient with its parents, a baby with its parents, that's the far the better thing to do. So always give us a call. We always are there for advice. Our receptionists are very highly trained. How they learn the book, which is about that thick, they had to learn all the answers to, is absolutely staggering. So like all our volunteers, the receptionists are very highly trained, very highly skilled, and of course they've got Alice or Lawrie or I or the vet team to ask questions of if something's really strange which they haven't had before. Ring us up, ask us a question, we will do our best to answer it.
So the last patient update really before we move on to a couple of the questions that have come in over the past couple of minutes. Thank you very much to everyone who's sending those in. If you do have a question, please leave it in the comments either on YouTube or on Facebook. We are monitoring both and we'll try and get through as many as we can. The next one is actually a kestrel, which is one of my favourite birds of prey. I love them to bits. This one arrived completely collapsed to the point it could barely lift its head. What you see on the leg there was when it had IV fluids, and there's IV lines put in there as well. It's in the incubator warming up. That one made a remarkable recovery, was doing really, really well. And amazingly, earlier today, Abby and I went back to where it was found, opened the door of the box, and it shot off back into the wild.
It was gone.
So it was gone very, very quickly. Didn't need any persuasion on that one. But, sorry, just seeing a few. Put stream in fundraiser mode. I'm not sure what that means. Please clarify that in the comments, and we'll try and get to that one. But yeah, really nice to see it go back to the wild. We've actually got 2 kestrels in. One's gone back out. One of them is still here. But hopefully we'll be able to have similar news for the other one in the fairly distant future, fair near future actually. So comment-wise, Niffler09, have you ever rescued a drunk animal, Simon? And you?
Oh, we have.
Yes, we have.
We have. Yes, Lawrie spends a lot of his time drunk. We have to go and rescue him. We do in the summer and late summer get called out to deer that are really very poorly. And because deer and other animals will scavenge on apples that have fallen to the ground from the trees when they're just beginning to go off, beginning to get a bit rotten. And believe it or not, they do get drunk. And we go out to animals that are sort of swaying around, swaggering around, and we just say, you know, pick up the apples, don't let it near them again, and believe it or not, it will have a hell of a hangover for a few days, but it will recover. That's a promise. So yeah, drunk animals we do get. Ask me another,
quite a lot,
Mr. Brady.
actually. Every year we always get them, every single year. So we're doing that one. Brandon has asked, what's the worst condition you've ever seen an animal in? That's quite a difficult one actually, because unfortunately the nature of our work,
to me that's easy, Lawrie, because you know what I'm going to say now, don't you?
You're going to say the badger.
Yeah, we went out to a badger which had been caught in a snare. We won't show you the picture tonight because it's that gruesome. I saw it, I knew what had happened, I realised what had happened, and I could not get that badger quick enough. Its head was connected to its body by literally that much, and you know, luckily that the airway was good, the blood supply was good, but that's all there was on the animal, because the snare had bitten right the way through the neck, all the way around, and I could hardly move quick enough to put that animal to sleep. I've never seen anything so bad, and yet there you are, the animal in that condition was still running around a garden. It still had the ability to run around a garden. If something like that happened to us, we'd just be lying on the floor crying our eyes out, or screaming, or whatever. Animals are incredibly resilient. They have a totally different concept of pain than we have. They deal with it in a totally different way. I've been out to deer before which have had both front legs chopped off at the knee, and they're walking around on the stumps of the bones, and just where they've been picking up leaves. You see the most horrible. We see horrible things, guys. Really.
Yeah. These are the sort of things we never really share. Unfortunately, it's anyone in this industry. It's not just us. It's other rescues as well. The RSPCA. It's the nature of the industry. Unfortunately, you do see an awful lot of things.
That's why we have a very dark, lavatorial sense of humour, because you've got to get rid of it. If you kept harping on about it and thinking about it, it would absolutely send you to oblivion. So, you know, we tend to joke about it in a macabre sort of way because we need to get it away. We need to shake it away from us. So, yeah, we see some horrible things. Any more questions on that one?
Yeah, Jenny O has just asked, have you ever gotten rabies?
Lawrie will tell you that I've been rabid for years. I could start dribbling now. And I'm like, we haven't had rabies. We once, I think it was thought by one of the government organisations that we might have had rabies here, and it was just so funny. It's not a funny thing to talk about it. They were convinced that one of our foxes had rabies, so the guy came down, the vet came down from DEFRA, and he put on so much kit. He honestly had more kit on than an astronaut who was going to walk in space. He couldn't grip anything because the kit was like everything. I mean, he was covered. You couldn't see him, and he went in to try to grab grab the fox, and he kept putting his arm down, and he couldn't grab it because he couldn't move quick enough and he couldn't close his hands. Anyway, after a while I just got so fed up, I just went in, as I am now, grabbed the fox by the scruff of the neck. I said, now look, you have a look at that, you tell me what you think. It didn't have rabies, needless to say. We've never had rabies here. We are all injected against rabies, just in case. We have the vaccination against rabies, just in case, because one day it could happen. So far, touch wood, it hasn't. Yeah, that was an interesting event. When they came down, they couldn't even hold the animal because they just couldn't move fast enough. It was quite funny.
Luckily, we don't really have rabies in the UK. That was basically eradicated relatively recently, but not in the last couple of years. The only animal that is sort of debated about whether it can carry rabies are bats. So anyone that we have on site that handles bats is inoculated against rabies. And I know that only gives you a bit more time, but we wear special gloves to make sure that if we are bitten, the fangs actually can't penetrate the skin. There's a lot more precautions for things like that, but luckily we're not in the same state as the US, where rabies is a bit more prevalent. It is basically eradicated over this side. Luckily.
We have had rabies in the UK, but it's always been in labs where some idiot has picked up a bat that he shouldn't have done and got bitten, and that's how that's rare. I mean, I can only think of one case in many years that a guy's got rabies and died from it too, to be honest. So it's not a disease you want to get, guys.
A fun one. Yeah.
Not a disease you want to get.
Robin Dean.
Lawrie? Oh, we know. We're asking
Robin Dean has asked on Facebook, are you still asking for volunteers at the centre or not at the moment?
Look, it's no good you asking that question now, because that comes up later on in our list of things to talk about down here. But as you have asked it, we'll answer it. We had a bit of a break between our lockdowns. I think we managed to get over 80 volunteers through the system in the space between our first lockdown and the lockdown we're in now. So thank heavens we've got a few more volunteers on. I mean, great on them. We've had to stop volunteering again for now because of this lockdown, but as soon as that breaks, we'll start having volunteers again. I mean, the volunteers are our lifeline. I know I say it, I'm like a stuck record, but without them we wouldn't be doing what we do. So to the 86 that came on board in that gap, thank you. And as soon as this lockdown stops, I'm sure Alice will start the process all over again. I mean, Alice, all
towards
the staff,
next year.
Yeah, all the staff, all the volunteers during COVID have been amazing. Alice, you don't actually see Alice now. She's moving so fast that she's just a blur around the centre. And that's not from sort of 9 till 5. That's from about 8 in the morning till midnight. Alice, you see a blur. That's Alice. There she goes. Off she goes. She's held this place together so well. She's taken on so much work. I mean, everybody's brilliant, but Alice is there every day, and then she does stupid things like volunteer for an evening shift as well. You can't get away from here. I just wonder what home life's like, and whether she has one actually. It's a wonder she has a home life.
No
so any rescues, Lawrie, recently? Any good rescues?
We've had a couple of quite interesting rescues recently. A couple of these you'll actually see very soon. So one of the most recent ones, we did a duck that was stuck in that. So for those of you who can't see that, that has 9 hooks in it. So three pronged semi-barbed hooks, only small barbs, but they're still barbed. And we had a duck that, luckily it only sort of passed through the feathers, got stuck into the feathers, but was held tightly to a tree. It's about 4 feet out in the water. Luckily when we arrived and we started gently pulling it back in, the duck did manage to break free and was able to head back off without any injury. But we cut all that off, and that is what Simon's got in his hand at the moment. That's the amount of line that was discarded around one branch. And that one.
I was a bit upset,
the full story of that coming soon.
I was a bit upset because we did get the call, and I was in one of my particularly sadistic moods. I thought, well, we won't take a boat. If it's in the water, Lawrie can go and get it, because I'm not going. It's far too cold. And we got there. This thing was only 3 feet out in the water, so I was really just depressed that Lawrie didn't have to go in the water. And we both sort of climbed across a branch and we tried to get the duck. But it pulled its way out of this just as we were about to catch it, because you put a net near a duck, it's just going to go frantic and try to get away, which it did. It was fine. It swam off across the lake and was fine. But yeah, it's a pretty nasty thing, and you know, it needs, I mean, anywhere where people fish, really you need to have water bailiffs, because if they just went round the site every night and sort of had a look for this sort of tackle, I mean, this was so obvious. Lawrie and I went over there and we saw the spinner, we saw 2 lots of line. The line was actually attached to the branch, so somebody had sort of cast the food in, the hooks in, and it was tied onto the branch. They'd obviously gone off to do whatever they wanted to do, and they were going to come back later to see if they'd caught something. So it's probably people fishing at night, which they shouldn't be doing anyway into these places. So yeah, if you go around a lake or a river and you see this fishing tackle, please, if you can, if it's going to cause yourself any problems, cut it off, pick it up, take it home, put it in your pocket and throw it away. But if you can't, just try to tell somebody nearby, because all these fishing clubs do take their fishing quite seriously. They do care about the wildfowl and everything that are around, and they will 90% of the time, probably 99% of the time, you know, if we say, oh, there's fishing tackle over there, or there's a float and a hook stuck in a tree, they will go and retrieve it so it doesn't cause damage. We once had a barn owl that was actually hanging from a tree because it got itself into a tree, passed the line, got the hook in it, and it was hanging upside down. Sadly, when we got to it, it was dead. But you know, it's not only waterfowl that get hurt, but other animals and birds as well. So guys, just watch very carefully, and if you can alert someone, you know, that would be absolutely great, because it saves accidents like that happening and fatalities like that happening as well.
The other sort of entanglement rescue that's happened recently actually happened earlier today, and I will let Simon talk about this one because it will be really funny. It involved this. So that is a male fallow deer, one of the largest species of deer we get in the UK. So we get quite a few species, the largest of which are the fallow deer and the red deer. Luckily, I haven't had a call for red deer in quite a while. That one would scare the living daylights out of me. But fallow are about 80 kilos worth of deer. The roe deer that we usually deal with are about 20 to 25. But if you can see, his antlers are tangled up in a metal fence. And he was going nowhere on that one. So I'll let you talk about that one, Simon, because it's funny.
We're not going to talk about it. We're very, very, very hacked off with Lawrie and the entire team. Every 3-4 months I have to have a trustees meeting which goes on for about 4 hours, and everybody knows not to disturb me during those meetings because they're quite serious, and obviously we've got to discuss about the charity. So they snuck out. They didn't even say that there was a deer rescue. They didn't say it was a fallow deer.
Well, not that I heard.
Anyway, so I was sitting here oblivious, and it was one of the, you know, I love the difficult rescues. I love the complicated rescues which make us think, which are quite challenging. So I sat here in oblivion in my trustees meeting, and off they went doing this amazing rescue. Credit to all the team, because a fallow, when it shakes his head around, even Lawrie, who had hold of his antlers, was being shaken around all over the place. You can't just hold it still and it's not going to move. You've got to go with it if it moves. Strong. But you do not let go of the antlers at any time, because if it just whips its head back, it can take a hunk out, literally rip a piece out of you, or, you know, like anything. The antler could go through the chick, go anywhere. It's just something you don't want to do. So the team went out, Lawrie, the vet, Maru, and a few others. They managed to cut it out, and it was a lovely release, and I will never forgive them for leaving me out of what was the best, has been the best rescue for several months. So Lawrie, you can wipe that smile right off your face.
Oh, it's worth it.
I shan't forget it. You will not recover from this. There will be penalties, and you will not like them.
But as Simon did say, that wasn't one I went out to alone. That would be very, very silly to do anything like that. So huge thanks to Maru and to Jacob, who helped not only contain it, but Maru was able to lightly sedate it so that we didn't cause as much stress when we're actually cutting it out. That was reversed, and then we could let it go. You will see the full story of that coming very soon. I believe that's currently being edited in the room just behind where I am.
I'm actually going to ban that story. It's never going to go out. It's never going to hit the airways because I wasn't there. Unless, of course, Lawrie could always Photoshop my face on top of his and make me look like the hero. But will he do that? No.
That was far too much work in After Effects. A few people asking, will it be available soon? Yes, it will. We're probably going to come out next Tuesday, if you wanted advance notice of that. Probably coming out next Tuesday at about 3 PM on YouTube. But before then, we're just going to go to a quick video, which is actually a rescue that Simon did, just highlighting.
Oh, thanks! Thanks a bunch.
It's
Let me do a
one
rescue.
of very few. He doesn't do that many. We only give him the easy ones. You know, it's just how.
Oh, Brady, you're on
I'm dead.
very thin
I'm dead
ice.
and fired. If I'm not in the next one, Abby can take over.
Absolutely not.
I've just been told absolutely not. But yes, moving on to the VT. This is a rescue that we did a couple of years ago. But again, it's a deer trapped in a fence. It just shows how dangerous these rescues can actually be to contain. So here we go.
We've just had a call out from a lady who's got a deer trapped in some electric fence by the sound of it. It's all around its antlers and around its face. So hopefully it's just going to be a rescue release. It's not too far away, so we're going to meet her at the end of the drive and she'll show us where it is. Somewhere there is a deer in trouble. So, right, let's get out the back. How can you have 1,800 left-hand gloves and no right-hand gloves? All right, fella. All right, fella. All right, fella. Oh, you all right? If you ever worry, just say.
Yep.
The trouble is with this, we want to get all the stuff off him before he can get free. I want the boy. I'm trying to cut everything so he can't get away till I want him to. It's going to make you grunt a bit, I tell you. That's the only one that's holding him. I'll tell you what, actually, I'm going to swap. I'm going to hold him.
Yep.
I'm going to let you cut those last two, and then I've got him in a more firm manner. Okay. Right, I've got him now. You can let go. Right, so just cut those two there you want. Just get a bit of antler somewhere. Right. He might be able to untwist a bit now, to be honest, because he's free. He doesn't know it yet, but he's actually free. Anything you think can clip will be fine. All right, fella. All right, come on, steady, because you don't want to go for this dirty break. I don't mind with a rope on his antlers, but I don't want him to go with that.
Stick him in there.
Okay, I've got it. I ain't going to let go. I'll tell you. Okay. Still got him. The trick is never to let go. I fell the other day and I still didn't let go, which I was quite proud of. Right, that's off now, really. Okay. Right, he's free. You come out the way. Leave him now. Come out the way. Listen, fella. Listen. Look at that. Thank you very much.
Have a drink before you go, mate.
So that is really, to me, that's the best type of rescue, because you get an animal that's in big trouble, it's not going to make it, and then at the end of the day it just runs off by itself. Everybody thinks I'm getting old and senile because I keep falling over. What you learn to do with deer, because they are so strong, and you think a fallow deer is probably 4 times the size of that roe deer, so the deer that Lawrie was resting this morning was 4 times that size. The strength they have is unbelievable. So if they do start to throw you around, you go with it. You obviously have to flex your arms, otherwise you just rip your arms out of your sockets. But sometimes it's much easier to fall over with it still holding it. You will never you can't release your grip and go back on again. You've got to hold on. But if it throws you over, don't worry about that. Go with it, lie on the floor with it, just get it down again. Don't let go of those antlers, because that's the bit you don't want hurting anyone, as well as the feet. The feet have got an incredibly powerful kick. They could put their hoof straight through your stomach if they felt like it. So very strong, so keep the hooves away from you. You hold the antlers, and if you need to go over, I mean, Lawrie has seen several times when I've been on rescues, I've fallen down a ditch with a deer, but I had its antlers, I wasn't going to let go, but we just went down together and I could keep hold of the antlers and we could do what we had to do. But that rescue, to me, it just sums it up, because it's a deer which would have died. We managed to get it, we managed to cut it out, and we released it back out, so incredible. But just think, the fellow that you'll see shortly, which Lawrie will put up, was 4 times the size of that roe deer, and massive antlers. The reach of the antlers is probably also 4 times what they are on a roe deer, so you've got a lot to contend with. And Lawrie, you know, blessed little cotton socks, he's only got little muscles, but he did his best, guys, he did his best.
No, we're actually very lucky. It was fairly mobile originally, but as it came around, as you can see in the picture, it actually managed to get antlers on either side of the tree. So we were able to sort of pin it down with those antlers using the tree as an anchor point, and that does make things a lot easier, because if you do try and pin a fallow deer down, unless there's about 5 of you, you are going with it. They will not muck around, especially a big male like that who's just come out of the rut. You don't want to be pissing one of them off.
And with a deer like that as well, to be honest, you know, you hold on as you can. If you need to let go, don't ever try to get a second grip. Don't ever try to go near it again. Don't leave it alone, because it's going to be angry. It's going to be scared, to be honest. It's probably never been so near to human before. So you've got to understand the animal. You've got to understand it's not trying to get at you, it's just trying to get away from you, and it will do anything it can to do that. So if you can't hold it, let go and stand back, because it's going to thrash around. You might get a chance of a second grip, but just wait your turn. Don't rush in there like a complete idiot and grab it again. Deer are probably the most difficult animals to contend with because of that, in the way badgers are, but you know, they're smaller. All they're going to do is bite you, and that really hurts, because I've been bitten a few times. But a deer with those antlers can literally rip you to pieces. So be careful, guys, and don't, if you're lying down, when I go down with a deer, you'll see whenever I go down with a deer, the feet are always facing away from me. So I'm behind the deer, I'm on the antlers, and the feet are away from me, so it can't kick out at me and do amazing damage. So yeah, a lesson to be learnt, perhaps, I think.
Yeah. So just before we get back into a couple of questions, there's been a whole load of donations that have come in already, so huge thank you to every single one of you who has donated. As we say all the time, we don't receive any government funding. We are a charity, so the only reason we can keep going is thanks to the generosity of people like you. So everything you donate actually goes straight back into helping more animals up there in the centre. So a big thank you to Imogen, who donated £5 actually before we'd even started the live stream tonight, so huge thank you to you, Imogen. Just put, can't stay but awesome work, thank you very much. Airless has donated £10. It's Spooky Wolf YT has donated 79p, so thank you very much to both of you. W Heron has donated €10 and has put, hi and hugs to all of WAF from Austria. Hello to Austria. I love Austria, it's a beautiful part of the world. Lisa B has donated €10 and has put, thank you from Milan, Italy. We're going round the world on this live stream. It's amazing how small the world is now. Adam Warner, a name that you might recognise, has donated £19.99.
Hey!
And has put, this is payment for keeping Abby away for an extra hour. So he's going to die approximately 10 o'clock tonight when we get back home, but thank you very much for that one, Adam.
And I'd just like to
Abby
say
is
to Adam,
giving you evils.
I'd just like to say, Lawrie, that if Adam was to donate £99.99, we could probably guarantee to keep Abby away for a couple of days, a week. You know,
that's fire. That is playing with fire.
We can facilitate anything here. We are facilitators. Just grab hold of her antlers, Lawrie, because I don't want to go anywhere near her when we keep her away for a week.
No, we need the tranquilizer rifle for that one.
Sure, I've got that. That's fine.
We're all scared of you, Abby.
Bullying going on here. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's actually surprisingly it's not me for a change. So Abby is sat to my right. So
is she going to say hello? Is she going to
come and hit me on the head? It's her.
Is she going to do a 5-second show? Because everybody loves to see Abby. You know they do. 5 seconds, Abby. Come on.
Abby's saying no.
You've
You might
got
get
so
a
many
surprise
fans,
cameo
Abby.
at some point.
You've got so many fans. I will personally donate £10 if you show your face for 1 second.
That's a lie.
That's blackmail. That is
It is.
blackmail.
It is blackmail.
This is our boss getting into blackmail. People should be recording this.
What you've got to learn, Lawrie, is just to turn the camera around when she doesn't realise, so it flicks onto her.
But the thing is, I'll do that and it's dark over there.
Oh look, there's little Abby. Little Abby.
Now I was £10.
Okay, £10 is fine. We love Abby. We do love Abby.
On the donation front, FXP1688, better known as Sven, who is more famous than anyone who has ever appeared on this live stream at all, has donated €100 yet again. That is something that he's done ever since the first live stream that we've done, and has gone on since then. So thank you so much, Sven. Your generosity, as always, is incredible, and I hope you're well.
One day we'll have to get Sven on a live stream. When COVID's over and we're back to normal.
That would be good.
Normal, I will get Sven on a live stream. We've got Lucy Kells with us tonight. I think she's in the chat.
We do. We have Lucy in the chat. She's left a couple of very, very interesting comments about questions to me, actually, about who do you think is the better deer rescuer, me or you? I'm not playing with that fire.
Don't play that fire. So when we get COVID done and over with, hopefully Lucy will still be around. We'll try to get her down from the wilds of Suffolk to come and do a live stream with us. It's always worth the money, because you know when she comes in here, she's so scared of me. She always has to get drunk before she comes in, as she did on her interview. I've never interviewed a vet nurse before for a position, and she came in legless, all but legless, because she'd watched SOS for a million years, which is sad in itself, Lawrie. sad in itself.
You were her
But,
idol. I feel so sorry for her.
Thank you, Lawrie. Okay. Not sure who I hate most at the moment. I should work on that.
It's definitely me.
So what else
Definitely
we've got
me.
going on? We've got some campaigns going on, haven't we? We've got stuff going on.
We
got
have
RTA
as well.
calls. We've got lots. You started off, and I'll follow your lead, Lawrie.
So, as a couple of people said in the comments earlier, the hedgehogs that we have of winter, they will need feeding throughout the entire season, and hedgehogs get through an awful lot of food. You'd be amazed at how many cans of food. Simon will give the figure, but you'll be amazed at how many cans of food we can get through in the winter. And we currently have a Just Giving campaign out that helps us fund the food that we need to help our hedgehogs through the winter. So if you do want to help our hedgehogs see another morning, please, Abby will stick the link in the chat. Head over to there, and if you can donate, that'd be amazing. So thank you very much. And what's the figure, Simon? You know this off the top
It's
of your head.
interesting for me to work out. I'm not going to give them too much. I'm just going to say, so for every hedgehog, we'll eat a third to a half a can, a 400-gram can per day. And they'll be with us for 150 days on average. So if you just sit and work out every hedgehog, if it takes even a third of a can of food a day, and it's with us for 150 days, and then you multiply it by 100, which is the minimum amount we're going to have in overwinter. We could have 4 times that, to be honest, which would be even more scary. But it is tons and tons, and I'll leave you to sit and work it out, because it's actually scary. And what always scares me, and nobody laughs at this joke, is that I wish we could market hedgehog poo, because if they ingest 7 tons of food, that has to come out somewhere, Lawrie, doesn't it? As we all know.
It does. Well,
If
we get
could
some very lavatorial.
poo, if we could market hedgehog poo, we'd make a fortune, guys. But no, they do eat their way through house and home. Everybody says, why do you save hedgehogs? You know, you save 100, what's that? But, you know, for every 100 hedgehogs we save, there will probably be, because we've done the maths, 35,000 more hedgehogs born within the next 10 years. So if every centre took in 100, and there are 100 centres, again, get your calculators out, hit the buttons, and you'll see that we could bring that population back from, you know, a 97% decline from, you know, 30 million down to 1 million is pretty dramatic. We can get them back. Whether we'll get them back in urban spaces, I don't know. And in fact, in a way, I know it sounds terrible, but I'd rather not get them back in urban spaces, because there's so many hazards they're going to face. Let's keep them in the rural spaces where they have their own area, and they're not going to be so worried by man. Somebody was asking me this afternoon, what percentage of your animals that you get in are directly or indirectly due to man? And we honestly believe over 95% of the patients we get in are directly due or indirectly due to man. It could be a fence, it could be a hedge, it could be anything, but man have caused the problem. That's why we're losing wildlife so fast, and why we need to do everything we can. So not only do we need to protect the wildlife, we need to protect the habitat that wildlife need as well. So it's a big ask, and you know, we can only do what we can do, but we try to punch as high above our weight as we can to try to make people understand the importance of wildlife and the fact that it's all a food chain. My favourite word, Lawrie, food chain, food chain, food chain. We are all part of a food chain, and if the food chain at the bottom fails, everything will suffer, from the apex creatures to man. We will be the worse off for it, and probably not even here at the end of the day. So yeah, protect the wildlife, protect the habitat, and everybody deserves its place on this planet.
Very well said. A couple of people are asking, before we get into some more questions, what's happened with my wrist. I had an old skiing injury from many years ago that flares up occasionally if you do things with it, and the deer earlier just knocked it a bit. It's fine, don't worry.
I'm not going to say anything to that, Lawrie, at all.
You are a child, that's why. Okay, so some more comments. Luna has asked on Facebook, I live in Wiltshire and there is a wildlife rescue in my area, but they don't tend to as many animals as you do. Do you think there are an equal number of animals that get into trouble all over the UK? I'm out a lot and have rarely found any animals in actual trouble.
I think the danger is that the animals we see, or any centre see, are probably a tiny percentage of the animals that are get injured or get hurt or get trapped that we never see. This is why it's really important, and I think why we this year were probably 50% busier than ever before. I think because people were home because of COVID, they were locked down, locked out, locked whatever they were seeing far more things. So the animals are there, but you're not always seeing them. So keep an extra eye open, because if any animal gets into trouble, it'd be really great if we could save it. So I mean, centres all over the world. I mean, when we started, I think we took in about 4 animals a week. That was back in the 1980s, and now we're sort of up to 20,000 incidents a year. And this year might even climb over that, to be honest, because in the peak of the summer, we were actually taking a phone call every 4 minutes of the day of a query about wildlife. I think the thing we've learnt more than anything as a centre is, we would take everything, bring it in, bring it in, bring it in. Actually, with the right advice, you can leave it out where it is, tell the people what to do. I mean, we've done quite a few rescues this year which we've never even gone on. They've been virtual rescues, Gus, because people have described the situation. So you then go back and say, look, if you do that, that and that, that should solve it. At the time, they're always really, oh, you useless lot, you're a bloody awful wildlife centre, you don't know what you're doing. Then you get the call 24 hours later, well, oh yeah, we did what you said and it worked. And that to me is my alleluia moment, because you can actually deal with a lot of things. I think the one that sticks out for this year particularly was a lady who rang from Richmond. She had a hedgehog which had gone down into her basement. There's a very small gap between the floor and the floorboards, so she couldn't get down there, and there's a lot of sort of quite dangerous wiring down there. We would have gone if we had to, of course we would have done, we always do, but what I suggested to her was to put a long, not too sharp plank of wood down from the floor level down into the basement, put a towel on top of that plank, and then just put a few bits of food going up the towel. And believe it or not, within 5 hours she rang back absolutely elated that this hedgehog had found the food, come up the plank on the towel because it wasn't slippery, it could get back up again, and had gone out. So rescue, you just got to think. It's not rocket science, which is my favourite expression. If you just think it through, we can actually do a lot of rescues without actually moving from our desks, which, because of Laurie's weight problem now, is something that we can't often do too much, because he hurts his wrists. He's got his beer belly's getting bigger and bigger by the day.
Rude. So rude.
You're rude. As you say, we're rude,
nothing
Lawrie.
Nothing to say to that.
But it's nice the fact that we can do all these rescues when we don't have to go. It's a shame for us because we love filming rescues. I mean, it'd be great to have gone and filmed that hedgehog walking up that plank of wood, but it takes us away from a rescue where we might have to go, and it would take us maybe an hour away from where we need to be next. So if we can help over the phone, trust us, we do our best. If it doesn't work, we will go. It's never that we won't go, it's that we think we can probably help a lot of people without actually going on a rescue. So we've learned a lot over the years. I mean, it's always a learning curve, and I always say to everybody here, the day you think you know it all is the day to leave, because you never stop learning, ever.
Yeah, it's interesting. We've had a few questions in this about what sort of training do you need for wildlife rescue, and I think that's best summed up as you just need a lot of insanity.
A lot of
Would you agree with
insanity. Well, the big thing I think, and being serious for a second, which I seldom am, you've got to have a feel for it. I can't describe it. People have asked me to write books about this. You've just got to feel it, and Lawrie knows because he came in, and you've had so many people through who have started to work with me, and in the end I just can't work them anymore because they go pounding in like idiots, rushing through to do things. Sometimes you've got to stand back and look, wait, watch, think. You will get the animal. Sometimes, obviously, if an animal's in one particular instance, you've got to run after it. But other times, a lot of the time, you can just sit and take it easy. I mean, I remember, Lawrie, that Gosling rescue we did with the Egyptians. Was it Egyptian? It was, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was Egyptian geese.
That all went wrong. We had the mother fly off. We then had, which was brilliant, the mother and dad fly back. They still wouldn't go near the babies, and we took a huge risk, to be honest. We let the babies out because we got them, we had them safe, but we wanted them all to go off as a family and not just have to bring the babies back here. We wanted, where we can, we try to keep the babies with the adults. So we let the babies out, which, when I think about it now, it was virtually insanity. But the parents came in, they saw the babies, they walked with them, and I think it took us it was nearly an hour, but really slow moves. We got all of the family, dad, mum and the babies, to go into a big keep net. The rescue's up on YouTube somewhere, I'm sure. But yeah, you can do it. You've just got to go really slow and carefully. And sometimes you take one step forward and you have to take that one step back again. Just don't rush them, don't crowd them, don't go in like a complete lunatic. Let them do their own thing. If you don't freak them out too much, they will do pretty much what you want them to do, because they want to be safe, we want them to be safe, so take your time.
Yeah.
Here ended this afternoon's lesson.
The best way you've ever sort of said it to me is, imagine that you were in that animal's position. What would you be thinking? What would you be feeling? What would you do? And make your actions complementary with that, so that you either guide them in the direction that you want them to go, you stop them going in a direction that you don't want to go, or you make movements very obvious, very slow, keep everything calm. If you just rush in, they're going to treat it as if you're a predator coming to get them and react accordingly. Keep everything nice and slow, just think about what they're thinking and try and sort of be complementary to that. I think that's probably the best way you've ever told it to me, certainly.
That actually scares me, because Laurie's turning more and more into me. When he gets me, his hair goes a bit grayer, and he gets a bit more of a belly on him, he will become me. He will morph into me. That's very scary, guys.
That's
very scary.
So many people on YouTube think we're related.
Now, somebody that actually yesterday, the deer rescue we went on yesterday, when we didn't find the deer in the middle of this wood, we were walking around for ages. I rang him this morning to say, thanks very much, because he sent us a very generous donation. And he said, "Is Lawrie your son?" I went, no. So yeah, a lot of people think we are.
6 years ago, I didn't know who he was.
You still don't. So what else is happening?
Those were the days.
What else is going on?
Just quickly saying, we just had a donation of £25 from Scottish Astronomer, who is a regular on this channel. Really nice to see you again. But she's put, "The thought of this live stream kept me going today. I had to be admitted to hospital for a blood transfusion, but they loved my Otterbird t-shirt." So really, really glad that they like your shirt, and certainly on behalf of me, and I'm sure from Simon, we really, really hope you're okay, and that everything is fine on that one.
We just love you. We love you to bits, Dr. Stromer. I mean, if you ever really want to get well, just ask for some of my blood, because it is 90% alcohol, and will protect you forever. You will protect it. Everything will be fine. Heaven help you.
What he means by that is best wishes from everyone at Wildlife Aid, and thank you as always for your support.
That's about it. Yeah, well
so
done.
I can speak, Simon, at this point.
You can. Yeah. Good.
Pixie Jane Pickering, how are our recently released badgers doing? Do you know?
Our recently released badgers, well, one lot are still hanging around. They're still taking food that we're putting out for them. The other lot, the mangy crew, have all buggered off. Laura, I know I shouldn't use that word, but they've gone. They're in the most idyllic place. They had a beautiful set. There was a set just outside their enclosure which they went into because it was a disused set. But now they've all gone. So that's gratitude for you. That is gratitude, isn't it? We've got some footage of them. I don't know whether it's gone up yet or not. But
it hasn't yet. It's going up soon.
We've got footage of them in the pen. We've got footage of them leaving the pen and hanging around for a few days, and actually investigating this new, not new set, the disused set they were taking bedding down into. We thought they'd hold there because it was the most beautiful location. You couldn't ask for anything better, to be honest. But they've gone, Lawrie. They've gone off somewhere else. So whether they come back, we'll never know.
So we've actually, go
on.
Continue.
No, all yours.
We've actually had a whole load of questions, actually, so we're just going to try and churn through as many of those as we possibly can over the next sort of 10 minutes or so. Brock Watcher on Facebook. We are a badger rescue in Greater Manchester. I grew up near Greater Manchester, so hello. What's the hardest badger rescue you've ever had to do?
There have been lots. There have been lots and lots and lots. We've had badgers under sheds. We've had badgers going to undergrowth. We've had badgers go and bury themselves under tree roots. We had difficult ones. Again, with any animal, if you handle it right and you do it gently and carefully, you can get it. But yeah, a lot of the badger rescues are quite tricky. And the one under the tree was probably very tricky, because in the end I did have to grab it, which always is a bit scary when it's a badger with very sharp teeth. But yeah, badger rescues aren't easy, a lot of them, and you have to be very, very careful.
Yeah, that one's actually out on YouTube. That one, if you want to have a look at that. Badger managed to dig itself under a tree. Sam was trying to get it out. We actually got stopped by the police, who thought we were robbing the golf course next door.
Excellent.
So yes, if you want to see that, it is up on YouTube.
So we've got a Just Giving campaign, Lawrie, haven't we? What's the Just Giving? Oh, is that the one that you mentioned already?
We've mentioned that. That's for the hedgehog food at that point.
And then we've got another one coming up shortly, haven't we? And we've also got a Christmas thing. Are we going to talk about that Christmas thing now, or am I saying things I shouldn't say?
Not yet. Not yet.
I can't talk about that.
We'll get to that when we know more information.
Yeah,
but there is something very interesting.
Anyway, it's secret. Top secret at this stage. But get ready. get your fingers ready, because you can help us win £12,000, and it'd be amazing. But we will launch it, and we want you to do it yourself, tell all your friends, because the more votes we get will bring us up to the top of the scale, and with everybody behind us, we might, if we're dead lucky, win one of the top prizes. But watch this space, it will become apparent in time.
Whilst we're on this topic, a couple of other things towards the C word. I'm not going to say it at the moment, that sounds very bad. I'm in Christmas before anyone gets worried. Because it's November, it's not Christmas yet, but over there Abby has written Merry Christmas on our whiteboard, so if you want to target that at anyone, she's over here.
Christmas.
It's not almost Christmas, it's November. But if you wanted to get anything on that, we do have our Christmas cards available at the moment as well. If you would like any of those, they're all photos of patients that have been in at the centre. If you want to help us out with that, all proceeds do go towards helping more animals here. If you want to do those, please head on over to our website. Abby will drop a link down in the chat on both Facebook and YouTube. Simon has some there. We also have our 2021 calendar as well. So again, all photos taken of patients here. If they're in focus, Abby took them. If they're out of focus, I took them.
Live.
So if you want one of those as well, head over to our website. We've not got too many left, so please get in before they're all gone if you do want one.
We've got one other thing, Lawrie, quickly, while we're talking about things like that. We have got, as you know, we had this big fundraiser when Richard Simmons was over the other week. We had 4, not prints, but the artists first, what are they called?
Artist proof.
Artist proofs. We had 4 artist proofs. They were all bought for £250 each. Sadly, one of the people didn't fulfil, so we have 1 artist proof left. It was £250. We will sell it in time, or if somebody wants to come on and send us a message they'd like it, it's pretty phenomenal. I don't know whether you've got a picture of it that you can whack up on the screen now.
Yeah.
And then shortly Richard will be selling the prints, which are smaller and will be available for around £65. So, and that's a limited edition. There's only 200 of them, so I don't think there's millions of them going out there. There's only 200. So there's the artist proof, which is bigger, much bigger than the prints. And there's this which is 250 quid, or you can go and buy the prints from Richard's site, and he is very generously donating a lot of the profit to us to keep us going, and they will be available probably within the next few days. So either or would be great, but it'd be lovely. I mean, these artist proofs are rare. He doesn't ever sell them. I think this is about the first time he's sold artist proofs. He has 4 done. He gave them all to us this time. As I say, we've sold 3, 1 didn't fulfill, so we have 1 available, and it is not even a limited edition of 200, it's a limited edition of 4.
Yeah.
So
each one of those is unique, actually. It's a different part through the process. Each one is a unique thing. So if you do want that, please leave us a message in the comments, or drop us an email to media, MEDIA, at wildlifeaid.org.uk, and we'll be very glad to hear from you. The other thing to go back on before we go back towards the comments is, for those of you who were part of previous Float campaigns. Float is a company based in the US that does limited edition t-shirts and other clothing. We have another campaign coming that will start next week, I believe, and this is the first time the design has been seen. We've actually had to ask special permission to have this go out, but this is what it will be. So for those of you who had the hedgehog design last time, this is now a fox with a very similar design. These will only be available for a week, and we will let you know on YouTube in the community tab, and on Facebook and Instagram, just on those pages in general, when that is ready to go live. And very kindly, the Float guys are donating a section of the proceeds from that directly to us, so buying one of those actually helps the foxes that we have in here. So, enough on the merchandise side of things, and back to some of the questions. Trisha has asked, have you rescued any swans recently?
Probably. We've had 2 in. I'm trying to think of the last swan rescue we did, actually. I'm trying to think. I'm just casting it.
There's been quite a few. A lot of swans have been brought in to us, but we've also had a lot of grounded swans, usually young swans. At this time of year, the parents will be kicking out the youngsters in preparation for the next brood coming in the spring, and you get a lot of swans that have been kicked out and have no idea where they're going. And to a swan in the air, wet tarmac can look like water. And they'll quite often think, oh, that's fine, I'll land on that. Try and land on it, crash, bang, wallop, and you have to rescue them from the side of a road, from the side of anything. You've seen a lot of those videos on the channel, but they're probably the most common swan rescues we get at this time of year.
And more to follow, I guess.
Yeah. Robin Dean on Facebook. Have you ever had criminal proceedings regarding animals from the centre? I remember a few years ago there was a fox who had been shot through the neck with an arrow.
Yeah, we've had lots of things shot through the necks with crossbows. We always tell the police, we always tell them what's going on, we show them the videos. They will proceed if there's any chance of a prosecution. Sadly, very few of these are, because you never find the people, you don't know who they are, but we always alert the wildlife officers and the police forces to what we're doing and what we found. If we find snares that are set or traps that are set, we alert them as well. So we work closely with the police, and they will do everything they can to help us stop this happening again. But we've never got to criminal proceedings, I don't think, apart from against Lawrie, and we can't talk about that because it's sub judice.
I can't believe I still work for you. But yeah, we do unfortunately see a lot of raptors that have been shot and things like that. Anything that is breaking wildlife law is reported. So depending on that may go somewhere on their side, but we do our bit and we report it on there. A few people asking, have you ever rescued a bear? So we certainly haven't in the UK, but with your abroad work, I believe you've rescued a few bears, haven't you?
When I was working with Animals Asia, and also with Edwin Week in Thailand. We have taken bears which have been in captivity, usually moon bears, where they've been kept in a cage their entire lives, and it's a pretty grotty thing to do. And we were taking those back and getting them back to a sanctuary. Sadly, if you release them, they'll just get found again. But they go back to live a great life in a sanctuary. I mean, both Jill and Edwin do amazing work, but it's very hard to get those animals back to the wild. Some can, but a lot of them stay captive, but in a very big, lovely space where they can live a very happy life and not the tormented life that they've had before. So yeah, so I've sort of rescued a bear. I've never rescued one in the wild. I've always wanted to go and watch bears, actually. Laurie's done this as well, so that's two reasons why I'm not talking to Lawrie today. So I said, Lawrie, just get on with it, mate. I don't care about you. Off you go.
I was very, very, very lucky to sort of photograph and film bears in Finland a few years ago. Absolutely incredible. I was woken up at 4 in the morning to a nose sort of tickling me on the forehead, just to rub it in a bit more.
Right, we're running out of time, Lawrie.
We are, so we're just going to try and go through a few questions quick fire. There are an awful lot of questions. We'll try and get through. We will have to go in a few minutes, unfortunately. We do have quite a lot of things that we'll need to do once we finish this. But we'll just try and run through a few quick fire. So, have you ever used a tranquilizer during a rescue?
Yes.
Yep, so Simon is actually licensed for blow darts and with a tranquilizer rifle, and if necessary we will do that. But it's not like it is in the movies. They don't drop instantly. You need 15 to 20 minutes for them to actually go down. So
about 8 minutes. 8 to 10
about
minutes,
8 minutes,
to be honest, if you're lucky. But you've got to make sure the dart goes right. If you lose the dart, you've got to find it. It's not like it is in the movies, guys. I do practice quite a lot. I practice on Lawrie. Sadly, I miss him quite a bit, but I do get. Oh no, I got him this time. That's cool. Yeah. So yes, we do. We have got it. We don't use it unless we really have to. But we do have the facility, and we have a blowpipe as well, so you don't always have to use a rifle. You can use a dart through a little pistol, or you can even just blow it like that.
Again, all licensed. Simon is fully licensed for all this stuff. Annabelle, what's the worst fox rescue you've had to do? I certainly think for me, the worst one that I've seen is a fox that tried to jump through a gate, unfortunately got stuck, and very sadly at the bottom of the gate was a whole load of metal spikes. And the fox ended up in a struggle impaling itself on the spikes. That's probably the worst.
I must say that wasn't caused by us. It didn't jump through the gate when we
arrived. It was already impaled.
We get things like that, and fox rescues, they can be quite dangerous. Again, foxes have a very nasty bite. In fact, somebody not too long ago got bitten quite badly on a rescue. Lawrie went out to rescue the rescuer, but that was quite a dodgy situation. Fox turned round, it bit the guy on the arm, and it went through an artery. So without telling you too much about that, but you know, that's what can happen. Don't ever think, you know, a fox bite's not going to hurt. It went through his artery, and Lawrie, being a first aider, sort of had to do the fox rescue, then he had to do the rescue, and then he came home to absolutely mulctuous praise. I don't know why.
Complete abuse is probably the more accurate
But
word.
yeah, so yeah, that's the thing. Always be careful. Never take any wild animal for granted. Always be very wary of it and very aware that it can do you damage.
Janet, have you ever had any patients with avian flu?
Yeah, I think we have. I'm not going to go into that one because that's really a vet thing. I think we have had patients with avian flu, but that's a question I'd rather get a vet to answer than us to answer. So it's quick fire. Give me 2 more, then we're going to go, Lawrie, because we'll get shot for being too late.
Okay. Izzy R, are there any animals you need special permissions to rescue because they're protected or something?
Probably. If an animal's in trouble, we will rescue it. I mean, if we haven't got time when we're on a rescue to get permissions usually. I mean, it just doesn't happen. If an animal's in trouble, we'll rescue it. We will get retrospective permission if we need it, which is actually quite rare, but it does occur.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll do the rescue first and think about the consequences afterwards. I mean, Lawrie is my fall guy. I just say that my name's Lawrie Brayley, and they go and arrest him. It's easy.
There are a number of animals in the UK that you can only sort of rehabilitate and release with a license. For those ones, we do have the necessary licensing as much as we possibly can. In terms of certain species, if you ever have to do things like great crested newts or anything like that, I don't recall we've ever had to do that. Some of those you can apply for special licenses in the case where you're actually rescuing it from harm. You can apply for those after the action's been done. So many of our team actually hold ecology licenses as well, so that's something.
Cool.
Mary James, could I ask, do I still need to leave food out for the hedgehogs? I had one that had 5 babies in my garden in the summer, and I was leaving food out for them and made a little hedgehog house.
That is a very contentious point, because we always say don't feed wildlife unless it's in trouble, and don't get it used to being fed. We've been down this road a few times. If something's in trouble, give it some food short term, but don't let it become reliant on your feeding of it. At this time of year, if you do see small hedgehogs around and there's no mum, yes, you need to ring us. We need to come and look at the situation, decide whether we need to take them in or not. Don't just rush them in. Mum might be there, something might be going on. We need to know the circumstances. Like every rescue, every animal in trouble has its own story, and we can actually build that story up from a phone call and pictures and a video or whatever, and decide what we need to do about it, because it's not always needing rescue. Sometimes it's just advice. Lawrie, you can have one more question, then I'm going to cut you short.
The last question for this evening. If you didn't get your questions answered, we will try and answer them in the next live stream in 2 weeks' time, so please tune into that one. Next one. Have you ever had to rescue any domestic animals?
Yeah, I think I've rescued a dog down a badger set once because nobody would go out.
We've done a cat up a tree.
Cat up a tree, we've done that one. Lawrie went up that one and it scratched him to pieces. And then the stupid cat, not only did he rescue it, but 3 days later it went up another tree. Lawrie wasn't available. We had to get another guy out to climb up to the top, very dangerously, the top of the tree. He got right up there to get it in the net, and it just jumped down the tree as if it was nothing, very agilely, jumped across a tree to another tree, down a branch, and off it went. So it actually didn't need rescuing at all, but it was just being awkward. So Lawrie, I think that's our time, isn't it, mate? That's really our time.
Unfortunately.
We want to thank you. We're coming towards Christmas now, so, you know, get your presents in line. We don't know what Christmas is going to bring us. COVID times are very unknown, very new times for all of us. So I'm just going to say something a bit deep for me, Lawrie. It is difficult times for everybody in the world, so I just think you should love life and live every day as if it's your last. Make the most of it, guys, and we'll see you in 2 weeks' time. Love you all. Love from me, Lawrie, and Abby, who's often unseen.
Good night.
There we are. God bless you all.